China. We lose hundreds of billions of dollars a year on trade with China. They know how I feel. It's not going to continue like that. But if China helps us, I feel a lot differently toward trade. A lot differently toward trade.
President Trump possibly, as you heard him talk about there, using trade as leverage to involve China more with the diplomacy when it comes to North Korea. The Chinese state media, meantime, saying it may come out against us if we strike first, something we talked about earlier in the show. From Heritage Northeast Asia senior fellow Bruce Klingner joins us now on if we can do this. And is that possible, Bruce? It's something the president's talked about in the past, that trade policy can be used in kind of a carrot and stick approach with the Chinese. I guess it would come in handy now with North Korea, or would it?
Right. Well, sort of linking separate lanes in the road can give you leverage across the board. And certainly trade is one that you may use for leverage. I'm more wary of doing that with North Korea because I think you should go for your U.S. national interests in each of these lanes in the road: North Korea, trade, Taiwan, South China Sea, et cetera. Because if we should be going after North Korea for its violation of UN resolutions, we should not be backing away from what is required under the resolutions. Also, we've been still holding our punches on what we should be doing to enforce U.S. law. There are Chinese and North Korean and other violators of the U.S. financial system. Right. We've been holding back. We should be implementing secondary sanctions. So if China comes across with favorable trade terms, do you then back away from what you should be doing on North Korea? I don't think so. Okay, so separate the two, and there's more that we can do. I understand that. What's in China's interest, though? Because I think that gets to the heart of what they might do here. Is it in their interest to help us with North Korea? I mean, they certainly don't want to see war in that region, right? I mean, shouldn't we be able to put some pressure on them to help solve this peacefully? Right. Well, I think what we can do is by using U.S. law, we can wean away the Chinese banks and businesses that are engaging with North Korea. Right. The vast majority of all international financial transactions in the world are denominated in dollars. Therefore, they have to go through U.S. banks. That's including North Korean transactions, as well as a lot of Chinese banks and businesses engaging with North Korea. They're still using correspondent accounts or their own accounts in the U.S. So we've been holding back. The administration a couple weeks ago. If we do that, sorry to interrupt, but if we do that, use banking sanctions, does it? And obviously, maybe this is why we haven't done it yet, and we would only do it if it's something we really need to do. It would hurt our financial industry too, right? Well, I would argue, why would you not enforce U.S. law? Why would you not protect the U.S. financial system against criminals, whether they're Chinese or any other entity? And what you presented to, as the Secretary Treasurer did when we sanctioned the one Chinese bank a few weeks ago, is we're not saying the Chinese government is complicit. We're not saying that we're behind it. We're simply enforcing our own laws. And why would China take umbrage at that if we're just simply enforcing our laws? You would wonder. Now, I guess the final question is, do you think we have enough at our disposal from everything you've outlined and everything we've talked about that this can play out peacefully over the next week or so? Prediction is such a poor way to put it, but how do you see this playing out? Well, separate from the trade issue or the U.S.-China issue, right now, obviously, the U.S. and North Korea are at loggerheads. North Korea has made very specific, public plans about what it's going to do with missiles. They've, in the past, have said, don't forget Guam's within range. But by giving such specific, even down to the number of seconds the missiles will be in flight, I think they're going to go ahead with it. I don't think it's a strike. I think it's a military demonstration. Right. Then the question on the U.S. side is, do you try to intercept, certainly if it's going towards U.S. soil on Guam, or within a certain range out into the ocean, and then we could argue whether that's provocative, or will that prevent a further escalation by North Korea? That'll be the big question if it comes next Tuesday or whenever it comes. Bruce, thank you, sir. We appreciate that. Now, in terms of what the president has been saying about this, he's also been dealing with this back and forth with Mitch McConnell.